Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to SpaceAg Conversations number 3. And we see our participants are joining, so we'll get started in just a minute or two. As we're getting started, if you want to add into the chat where you're from, share us where you're joining from. I'm here in California. So it's good morning. We have, of course, our special guest who's also on the West Coast time. And then we have our operations magician from Greece, who's it's evening there. So please share in the chat where you're joining us from.
Hello, everyone. Glad to have you here. Thank you very much for joining us today in this exciting lecture with Professor Murat Kacira to learn more about the next generation of space farmers. So feel free to leave your comments in the chat from where you're from. And also, if you have any questions during the presentation, feel free also to leave on the chat. And at the end, we'll have a Q&A session addressing the questions for Professor Kacira and to have a really exciting discussion about this topic, which I believe like everyone is looking forward to it. We have a really great attendance today. Sorry, David?
We have people from Germany. We have people from Australia. We have a lot of folks from Brazil, from Tucson, Arizona, from Singapore. Amazing. What a great.
Yeah, I think you're hitting all the points, regions around the world. So that's fantastic.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get started here. So once again, this is SpaceAg Conversations. This is a series that we do about every month or month and a half. My name is David Caesar. I'm with Agritecture, lead agronomist with Agritecture. I'm one of the hosts, along with Davi Sousa, and who will introduce himself very briefly in 1 second. And just a quick agenda for today with doing the introduction right now. We'll have a presentation by our guest speaker, Dr. Murat Kacira, and then hopefully we'll have about 15 minutes of Q&A time where you guys can ask questions directly from our expert, and then a few closing remarks. There we are, all looking very handsome. Davi, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Once again, my name is Davi Souza. I'm an electrical engineer and also a researcher in topics such as controlled environment agriculture and space farming. And today I'll be your co-host together with David to have this exciting discussion. And now, David, perhaps you can introduce Professor Kacira or Professor Kacira. If you want, feel free to introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you, Davi. Appreciate it. Thank you so much for the invitation. It's really a privilege to join you today as part of the SpaceAg Conversations webinar series. I'm super excited, and thanks to everyone joining us today from around the world. I see 95 of you joining from all over the world. So this is so exciting. I am a faculty member and a professor, interim department head in the Biosystems Engineering department here at the University of Arizona, and also the director of Controlled Environment Agriculture Center. I have been with the University of Arizona since 2007 as a faculty member, and I have been with the Controlled Environment Agriculture program since then. My background is on controlled environment agriculture engineering. My research programs focus on environmental control in both greenhouses and vertical farming systems, indoor agriculture systems. I have programs related to agrivoltaics, photovoltaics, integrated greenhouse systems, computer mission vision for plant health monitoring, And also, we're kind of moving towards a direction of circularity to control the environment agriculture systems. But I have the pleasure of working with an excellent group of faculty, staff, students, and our collaborators here at the University of Arizona as part of the Biosystems Engineering and Control Environment Agriculture Center. Again, I am super excited about the conversations today. So,
thank you so much, Professor Kacira, for introducing yourself. It's very interesting what you are doing there. David, if you want to go to the next slide. Yeah, so quick introduction about the SpaceAg series. Some of you might be already following what we have been doing in the previous webinars. So we have two different formats of webinars. The first one is the SpaceAg Conversation, which is the same format that we are having today with our guest speaker. And also we have the SpaceAg Updates, which is more related to news reviews, Q&A, just with very friendly discussions about the updates of the space industry. Here's our calendar for the rest of the year. So we are returning from a bit longer break from our previous webinars, and next month we are be heading to another SpaceAg Conversations. And David, can you please just jump the slide? And for our next webinar, we would like you to suggest who would you want to have with us in our next webinar. So if you have anyone in mind, any researcher, professional, CEA professional, space professional that would like for us to bring here to also contribute to the discussions, feel free to add this in the chat, and we'll be more than happy to bring this person aboard. So David, you can jump. Yeah, now I will be handing the floor to Professor Kacira. Professor Kacira, feel free to share your screen, and we are looking forward to your presentation.
Thank you, Davi. Actually, I really love that image that you just put there. That's an icon image for our Mars Lunar Greenhouse programs here at the University of Arizona. Well, thank you so much again for the invitation. So Davi and David and Nico asked me to talk a little bit about the space farming, space agriculture related research programs that we have had here at the University of Arizona. So I will kind of focus on that during my presentation. And also I'm hoping that we'll have some discussions after that regarding to the future generations and educating and training the young minds so we can support the growth and innovation in this space. University of Arizona has a rich history in terms of contributions to space exploration, dating all the way back to Apollo missions, Dr. Kupier working on the lunar atlas that helped exploration and travel to moon at the time, but all the way now to OSIRIS-REx missions, Phoenix Mars Lander mission, and James Webb's telescope mission. And as part of the biogenerative life support systems, also University of Arizona has a rich history. I would like to underline this statement that for sustainable food systems that are needed for low orbit missions, as well as on the moon, that will help us meeting the lunar crew's needs as fundamental steps for both lunar sustainability and also towards Mars exploration. When we look at NASA's future roadmap for crop production, we kind of noticed that there are innovation and technology evaluations, systems evaluations in the International Space Station, low Earth orbit settings, to kind of validate concepts and technologies that will help us towards long-term space exploration, first on the moon, moon habitat and settlement on the moon. Again, testing technologies and hopefully scaling up there in terms of systems. Survival is the key for that objective, and then towards hopefully transit to moon and settlement on the moon. If you remember, the initial objectives with the Apollo missions were to send man on the moon, right? It's about space travel to moon. But with the new Artemis program, it's about survival, settlement on the moon, and then towards a transit missions to Mars. And also with the Artemis program, the objective is also sending a female right woman to the moon as well. So you can see different types of technologies are being explored, which includes controlled environment agriculture systems, different types of systems, hydroponics, substrates. There are different challenges that research has been trying to address to grow crops, especially in microgravity settings. We'll touch on that later on, but also on surface kind of deployments for survival. And when we consider space exploration, the resources are limited. We will need to survive, and for that we need water, food, and oxygen, right? So those are the key elements that we will need for survival. So where are we right now? So if you look at the history of crop production as part of the space agency's emphasis, here are NASA's kind of history of working in that space. In the past, the Earth-based biomass production chamber, BPS, testing basic concepts for future space systems. And you may notice that this is a vertical system, right? Maybe this is kind of the origin of vertical farming for Earth and terrestrial-based applications. And now where we are in the present, NASA is exploring a variety of crops, NASA candidate crops for astronaut diets, mainly with pick and eat crops, so you don't have to cook or prepare the food for astronauts, but in a smaller system, right? Setting. So we have veggie right now, advanced plant habitat system, and now NASA is focused on what is called an Ohalo tree system. It's kind of a scaled up version of it. To demonstrate that technology, redundancy, and plant production technologies. But towards future, we will need scaled up plant production systems as part of a habitat, providing those resources, key fundamental resources that we mentioned. So in terms of challenges for space agriculture, volume constraint is one of them. Resource availability for crop production. So where do you find the water initially to start the crop production? What type of growing media? The light, energy, the airflow to simulate transpiration and crop physiological activities, nutrients. Do we have those resources? How do we manage nutrients for plant production in microgravity? How do we deal with water? Because water behaves really interestingly, uniquely in a micro G setting. And then the considerations for surface deployments where you have some level of gravity, of course. Other environmental stresses affecting plant production, growth, and health. Cruise diet. So what are the types of crops that we need to grow? And psychological well-being. Imagine yourself locked in a distant location in a confined space. Then there is that psychological effect as well. So plants and plant production provides some positives and in terms of helping to improve psychological well-being of crew members and the whoever is in that exploration. Space agencies, again, have been researching on a variety of concepts, technologies, strategies, and NASA has a huge success in terms of these types of technology innovation and exploration for microgravity settings, working on fluid movement where you have no convection, for example, water cycling issues, radiation, pressure, micrometeorites, dust settling on surfaces, how do you manage that, and partial gravity settings. So other kind of considerations for spacecraft production were around plant size, high CO2, how do you deal with that, food safety, microbiome in the environment, crop production environment, nutrient output, the variety of stresses and crew time. So who is going to manage these, systems? Astronauts will probably take care of other important mission-related tasks. So how do we manage a crop production system? Can we create an autonomous system so it can, function hopefully with robotics embedded into that type of crop production? Environmental optimization. We are resource limited, so we have to produce high yielding and high quality outputs with crops versus the minimum amount of resources needed, and also crop scheduling. So these are some of the systems that are operating, that have been operating in research in the International Space Station with the VEGA system, as you can see here on the left and on top corner, and also in right top corner, but also we have more advanced, highly instrumented, I believe, unit advanced plant habitat, which has more than 100 sensors monitoring the variety of variables and things in the crop production system. And also a variety of crops have been tested, right? Kale, lettuce, wasabi, dwarf varieties, pak choi, mustards, and some of these have been, student kind of selected crops as part of outreach, NASA outreach effort. And also other crops have been tested, like radish and chili pepper, right? Space chili, because astronauts need that. They need to open their taste buds. And then chili pepper really fits well with that actually crop selection here, as you can see, successfully demonstrating growing of chili peppers. So our history really goes back to early 2000s in terms of University of Arizona Controlled Environment Agriculture Center working in extreme climates where resources are limited. They're not being transferred for a long term or periods. So how do you kind of offer fresh produce to crew members or communities, team members working in those remote locations, but also to support their, psychological well-being, since they are located in a remote, confined spaces. So one of our team member here has been really instrumental to kind of initiate these earlier studies. Mr. Phil Sadler, I'm hoping and assuming that he might be among the audience today. He is a botanist by training and degree, but he has been in Antarctica as heavy machine operator and noticed the need for fresh produce. And I believe he first approached to senators visiting South Pole and pitched the idea of starting a greenhouse there to produce fresh, and nutritious crops. And that led to later a designing and installation of a grow chamber in the Amundsen-Scott South Pole Station to provide those nutritious and fresh produce locally produced for the crew members. Imagine that, we are located in this space, South Pole Station, where you are under extreme climates. South Pole has, can be at negative 73 degrees Celsius. As you can see, it's a good analogy, right, for an extreme location, harsh location. And the crew members are somewhere around 50 plus people during the winter, summertime, maybe 100 plus people there living. But they don't get any food, for at least 6 months, 6 to maybe 9 months in some cases. So it's really a challenging environment. So the earlier studies started with that back in 2004. Phil Sadler, working with the Controlled Environment Agriculture Center team, faculty expertise here, Dr. Giacomelli, our founding director of the Controlled Environment Agriculture Center, leading this project as the PI from University of Arizona. They collectively built this grow chamber, as you can see on the image, with a variety of crop production systems. You're looking at maybe nutrient film technique-based system, floating raft-based system. These are recirculating systems with the nutrient solutions, growing variety of crops. As you can see, there are leafy greens being grown, as well as tall crops with fruiting crops or mining crops like tomatoes, cucumbers, and peppers are being grown as well. and you see the nutrient solution tanks positioned under the growing systems. The lighting at the time was another innovation that initiated from this center called a double layer water jacketed high pressure sodium light. So the water can absorb the heat. So we reduce the demand for cooling in the great growth chamber setting like this. You can use that thermal energy, stored energy elsewhere as needed, actually, if needed. But that was another NASA-funded project earlier at the time before LEDs were, available for horticultural production. So you can see the production capabilities of that system: 70 different species, from greens to melons, 50 pounds almost per week production in this 440 square feet space. And this was a contract also through NSF funding, with Raytheon being the contractor to University of Arizona team. But our students, graduate students, actually helped us to operate this system. You see this in the lower part of the image. Lane Patterson, a former master's student here at the University of Arizona Controlled Environment Agriculture Center, was our one of our first graduate students, traveled to Antarctica, lived there to operate this system, educating the crew members, team members there at the South Pole Station, so they can also self-sustain themselves in terms of food production capabilities in this innovative growth chamber settings. And back in Tucson, through satellite connections with our students again, the center was connecting to the South Pole Station, receiving feedbacks in terms of the operational status, and providing technical feedback and advising in terms of the maintenance, and also whatever feedback is needed to help operating this system operation. So you can imagine such remote connectivity in a given location also on Earth, because there are remote locations, remote communities where that sort of technical support is needed. Now we have so much more advanced capabilities in terms of telecommunication, computational speeds, and things like that, that would enable such connectivity. Then that project later on led to the initiation of the Mars Lunar Greenhouse project here at the University of Arizona. Early in 2008, with initial funding coming from the center and University of Arizona, then with 3 phases of funding between 2008 and 10 up until 2018, with NASA Ralph Steckler grant funding provided to Mars Lunar Greenhouse collaboration. And as you can see, we had a really strong collaboration, not only with our faculty expertise here coming from biosystems engineering, plant sciences, biosystems engineering, and aerospace mechanical engineering, but also we had international collaborations such as Thales Alenia Space, a company that built almost 50% of the hardware of the International Space Station, and Aerosecure company specializing in covering materials. For example, University of Naples, Federico II in Italy, with their emphasis on space agriculture effort as well. But as you can see, our students were involved and really contributed to those research programs here at the University of Arizona. So some of the research earlier on focused on accounting for resource inputs and outputs from Mars Lunar Greenhouse System. NASA tasked us to determine what are the resources needed in terms of water, further nutrients, labor input needed, and electrical energy needed to operate such system. And then in terms of outputs, what is the edible, biomass, non-edible biomass that could be available for recycling, maybe converting them into nutrient resources or processing it. But also other resources, water harvesting capabilities, for example. So those were our initial observations, initial research focus, working only with one unit, one module that is expandable in nature. It's based on its design. So you're seeing this image that Davi showed actually at the beginning of this with the introduction. This is our module, Mars Lunar Greenhouse module. prototype. So as I mentioned, we are interested in food production capabilities, water balances, carbon balances, energy to radiation balances, and documenting these and presenting to NASA with variety of crops being grown, such as lettuce, tomatoes, sweet potato was, potato was our also a major interest at the time, as well as strawberries. You can see we created actually a jungle here. Of course, biomass outcome, but also the ability to harvest water, right? Because plants are only using a small percentage of the water we provide them, maybe 3 to 5%. The rest is diffused into the atmosphere through transpiration, and we can harvest that and bring it back to the system, either as a water or maybe treat it as a potable water for consumption. So these are some design correct features of the Mars Lunar Greenhouse system. It's a robotic machine growing crops like this. It's a collapsible and expandable system with rings, as you can see, with low weight materials used in the making of this system, with cable culture used. It's like an NFT system, but modular, lightweight, crop production unit is recycling the nutrients and water resources for plant production. We can deploy this unit with some air pressure in 10 minutes and turn the system on, get the water going, and then turn the lights on. As you can see, Dr. Giacomelli is kind of standing next to the collapsed Mars Lunar Greenhouse. You can see the walkways and lighting system is all collapsible. Then we went through several closure cycles. So we closed the system and determined, those resource inputs and outputs. As you can see, the trends in terms of the water harvesting capabilities, the biomass outcome, going through these 4 crop cycles, as well as the oxygen production. We did really well in terms of the biomass outcome, edible biomass outcome, the water harvesting capabilities, as you can see the numbers here. But in terms of the oxygen generation to meet the demand for crew members, we were kind of lacking in terms of the required quantities. And I'll be happy to share this manuscript that we published from that effort. As you can see, going through 4 cycles of closures, total biomass production in terms of kilograms per meter square per day, very consistent. As you can see, this is the consistency that we want to actually demonstrate, because you want to capture that equilibrium, and you maintain that to be able to produce water, oxygen, and also the other outcomes, biomass outcomes. In terms of Mars Lunar Greenhouse water balance, as you can see, we're condensing about 20 plus liters of water per day basis. And then energy balance, you can see with the lighting system that we use and the other hardware components, we are producing about 23 grams of edible biomass per kilowatt hours of energy needed. Now we have more energy efficient, of course, lighting systems and other types of hardware that could really help improving this productivity metrics. And you can see the labor use. So we needed about 20 to 30 minutes minimum working in that module per day, just to check, come and check, not necessarily going into the system, but checking the operations of the system. We have been always collaborating with our colleagues in NASA, in terms of the technologies, different types of systems, innovation. This is a workshop that was hosted by our colleagues at Kennedy Space Center, focused on automation and innovation for crop production systems for LEO settings, but also for Moon and towards Mars. So it really stimulated ideas, different types of collaboration opportunities as part of this workshop, and that kind of led to defining some of the ideas for the roadmap that was put to action in terms of the crop production for space exploration. So as I mentioned, NASA currently is really focusing on scaling up the volume capacity for food production system. So back in 2019, NASA offered this, they call it challenge, but funding program with OHALO 3. That's the name of the funding program to have a redundancy in for crop production for microgravity settings, but they tasked teams competing for a water and nutrient delivery efficient water and nutrient delivery system for crop production for the Ohalo unit. The shell and other parts would be designed and prepared by NASA. The only part from the teams were to deliver the water nutrient delivery system that would grow these crops effectively. So we kind of went ahead of ourselves, as you can see here. We built the shell itself also. We wanted to really explore the whole thing. And you can see here, this is our Ohalo 3 kind of unit that we manufactured and explored with different types of pick and eat crops, dwarf tomato variety, lettuce, kale. We kind of addressed some of the challenges faced in that microgravity setting. As I mentioned, substrate is being one of them. So we kind of focused on agar, microgel type of growing media that can be produced in situ and recycled rather than using alkalite or clay material that is typically used in the crop production systems in the International Space Station crop production systems. How do you move air? As you can see from these openings, we bring air below the canopy and then we reject it from the ceiling where you have outlets and circulate that air to stimulate transpiration pattern. We created a vacuum integrated aeroponics system. So we were misting to the root zone and capturing that water after a few seconds and bringing it back to the reservoir and tank. And also we used a very low weight and light highly efficient thin film LED lighting that would bring the intensity of the light we needed as well as uniformity of the light we needed. So these are some of the features that we incorporated into our system. You can see the production capabilities. You see our students here, Megan Kane, Samuel Jesse, and Tamara Friedman from Biosystems Engineering helping us to kind of conduct this research as well. But we also had collaborators, as you can see, again, from Thales Alenia Space, German Space Agency DLR, University of Naples, Italian National Research Council, and Synergy Company here in the United States were among our collaborators as well. These are some of the outcomes using agar and microgel production. Here on top, you see crops grown in that gel media versus typical rock wool waste kind of production system in a control system that we demonstrated production capabilities of our Mars, our Ohalo 3 unit. Currently, we are working with a variety of crops again. This is not the current picture, but without the tall crop that you see here, we're focusing on dwarf varieties, dwarf crops. That is kind of a focus for us moving forward to help us, scale up the production system and volume capacities as part of our mix. Of course, throughout the research programs, as I mentioned, we always enjoyed our collaborations with our colleagues from NASA, Kennedy Space Center, but we also are talking and communicating with Johnson Space Center teams as well. Towards Mars habitat concepts, you may see a variety of designs proposed here. The top one is the Chinese lunar habitat, a NASA deep space habitat. This is where we start our kind of design concepts. As you can see, this is the deep space habitat unit. As you can see, this is a two-story kind of approach. But with the two-story approach, in case of an emergency, it is really difficult to have an exit or escape from such habitat unit. So we're kind of focusing on hub and spoke, one-layer kind of design features. The spokes are not necessarily connecting to each other, but they're connecting to the hub. And you can expand on this based on the needs actually of the system. But we are focusing on what would go into these actually spokes in terms of the crop production or biological systems that can be considered as a low-weight, portable, easily deployable, maintainable, but also in case of challenges, we have redundancy. So one system does not affect another system approach. So the earlier Mars lunar greenhouse design that I showed you had 6 rings, right? A lot of mass actually to it. So for Moon and Mars deployment, we're kind of really focusing on these 5 spar system, actually that's what we call it, with reduced weight. When you consider not burying this system under the regolith, but above the ground with some shielding with innovative materials used, then that brings actually the opportunity to reduce the weight of a structure like this. So this is what you're seeing here. In the second layer, we see some mock-ups that we considered, but at the bottom image is what we are actually building right now and testing as we speak in terms of mushroom production, as well as variety of plants to be produced in these new generation racking systems that could be deployed easily in a plug and play mode into the 5-part system. So I don't know how many of you are kind of enthusiasts for some futuristic TV series, but I am one of those people that I really enjoy when I have spare time. And one day I'm watching this Apple TV Plus TV series called For All Mankind. Some of you might be familiar. So this is all about, what if space race was not ended? What it would look like right now in terms of, that competition, moon settlement and Mars settlement. And in one of these episodes, they showed this habitat, Mars habitat, and my eyes, went like really big and with stars sparkling there. So happy to see that. I hope that you can notice the module, the Spock expanding from this central hub. There you go. The Mars Lunar Greenhouse module. We couldn't make it to the Matt Damon movie, The Martian, but I was so happy to see this in the For All Mankind TV series. So I'm sure you have seen variety of artist renderings, different design concepts for habitat, alternatives for Moon and Mars deployment. So I would like to say that the ability for us to grow fresh food in space is an essential part of the solution to the challenges for NASA's long-duration human exploration of the moon and beyond. This is a statement that you will find at the door of the NASA Kennedy Space Center Exploration Research and Technology Directorate, Plant Production Systems Laboratory. I fully agree with this statement. I would like to say that, towards the future, considering the education and training needed, especially with our young generation, we need a variety of skill sets. Controlled environment agriculture is being one of them. There are others too. Here at the Controlled Environment Agriculture Program, University of Arizona, we have the most comprehensive CEA education with hands-on. I would like to underline that, covering 13 different courses with all aspects of, controlled environment ag, from plant physiology to agronomy to engineering, technology, pest management aspects of it. So it really offers a great learning opportunity, experiential learning opportunity for our students, those who are interested in terrestrial systems, controlled environment systems, but also those who are interested in going towards space exploration direction. I would like to acknowledge our outstanding students who contributed to our space agriculture program. And I hope I did not forget anybody here, but they have been instrumental part of our research programs here at the University of Arizona Controlled Environment Agriculture Centers. They are our young minds, and those of you also in the audience. So we have innovation and support for this space exploration moving forward. And I would like to also acknowledge our collaborators, sponsors who helped us really innovate collaboratively in terms of the space agriculture. So with that, I would like to thank all of you. And if we have time, I'll be more than happy to answer some of the questions you might have. Thank you again.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kacira. That was an amazing presentation. Just to start it off, when you were a young boy growing up, did you ever imagine that you would be designing food systems for astronauts?
Oh, no, I wasn't thinking that big at the time, but I grew up in the southern part of coastal region of Turkey, called Mediterranean region, right? Akdeniz region in Turkish, around greenhouses. And my interest was really towards the controllability of a food production system, agricultural system like this. So I kind of focused on engineering aspects of it. So I went to an agricultural engineering degree program, really focused on controlled environment agriculture, greenhouses to begin with. Then, of course, in the past decade or so in vertical farming systems. But space agriculture brings unique challenges to address. So anything that we are trying to address those challenges also helps us to innovate for Earth-based systems. So if you see, some of the sensors used, climate control systems, LED lighting, other technologies, they have been initiated for space, research, and we are translating that to now Earth-based controlled environment agriculture systems. So I'm really excited about that kind of concept and focus.
Okay. And how do you see that? How long is that lag time generally between the technology that's kind of being deployed in these space for space use and then before it's kind of deployed here on Earth?
Um, Depends on the technology. With LEDs, I believe this is referring back to maybe early 2000 and slightly maybe longer than that. But now LEDs, they are commonly used, I would say, um, after 2015. I believe more practically in Earth-based systems. So as you can see, there is a decade of kind of transitioning time for practical applications, scalability, and demonstration of that technology. But it will be a different maybe time period, much quicker or longer integration time from space to Earth-based applications.
Okay, thank you. Davi, I don't know if you have any questions, or we can look in the chat, see what folks are wanting to know.
Yeah, we do have a couple of questions here. The first one is you mentioned about a couple of crops. Carrie asked about like if you identified the pick and eat crops that would be necessary. What are the best pick and eat crops for astronauts? And like
Sure.
we already know that a lot has been growing at veggie, but like have you identified any other potential crops like that is going through the crop readiness level
Yeah.
proposed by NASA?
Sure. NASA has that, candidate crop list for sure, and they're based on their calorific, outputs needed to meet the diets of astronauts, vegetarian diet. So, among those crops listed, I would say almost all of the leafy greens, for example, microgreens are considered as pick and eat crops. It's something that you don't really need to cook, not even wash, and so that's pick and eat crop, and some berries, for example, strawberries and things like that. So that is now is more emphasized for space agencies and NASA's for that as well. So in our case, we worked with lettuce varieties, kale, spinach, pak choi, chard, and sweet potatoes. Potatoes, we are really focusing on that now too. Um, but strawberry as well. Those have been some of the crops that we consider as pick and eat crop.
Oh, great.
We have
There
a
is
question
a.
regarding, oh, sorry.
Go ahead, David.
Go ahead, David. Okay, we have a question regarding, I assume this would be for like a long-term space mission or life on Mars, about seed stock and how would seeds be kept fresh in space, and how could we grow the next generation of seeds? Is it possible to grow?
Yeah, that's a great question, and that is definitely a focus also for NASA and for space agencies. So we need to have the proper technology for storage purposes, and also in terms of contamination issues needs to be addressed on that. But breeding is something that I think is definitely needed. Even now, when you consider controlled environment agriculture systems on Earth, we are using majority of varieties are suited for field agriculture. So, and we are now seeing new varieties that are being bred for the controlled environment ag settings. So I would love to see that innovation and improvements in terms of plant genetics as well, because we can only do so much with the physics of the system, right? The physics is limited, but maybe with varieties that are resilient, more resources efficient, maybe with yield outcomes and quality outcomes under low light settings, so low energy demand, but with the ability to leverage nutrient resources, better, so we don't rely on too much, on the needed nutrient resources and water for that matter, but also resilient to the conditions that we are dealing with. So yeah, seed production storage is another area that needs further kind of emphasis. Something that we have not, touched on that in our programs. But a great question. Microbiome is another one. Microbiome, is another one. Food safety is another aspect, for space agriculture. There are so many unique opportunities, I think, with biostimulants and beneficial bacterium, and that are being used and explored, right, also in terrestrial systems. So, yeah.
That's a great answer and question. To complement this question, Professor Kacira, Gustavo asked, like he always had this question, and I believe like lots of people are having this too, especially because we are seeing like some plants and seeds being sent like Blue Origin missions now, like they're taking plants with them. And the question was, why are seeds and plant seedlings taken into space since they won't be planted there? And the results from the environment won't be able to be used matched here on Earth. So what is the purpose of sending like a seed or a plant sample to, like, let's say for a couple of minutes in microgravity?
That's a great question. So, testing for a longer time, right, period in a space setting is a challenge, right? It demands for time and resources, costly. But and for that reason, we have the exploration going on, research going on in the International Space Station, a perfect setting, right? We are there for a longer time. We're testing how water behaves, how we can provide nutrients, how we can address some of the challenges that I mentioned and listed. They are storing seeds. They are looking at the longevity of them, the quality of them. They're initiating some of the production there. So a lot of things are being explored, right? And technologies too. But even in a short period of time, let's say, with those flights, simulated flights, or maybe even a drop experiment, you can test certain concepts and ideas, and have some ideas from that observation that may help towards improving designs and concepts and things like that. So for that reason, there's an interest to send maybe a seedling and maybe a seed to the space to kind of observe those things. And there are satellites, and where plant experiments are also ongoing. There's algae with aquaponics kind of going in one of the I think satellites, and so any observation, short term or long term, is a great feedback. I think for everyone.
That's interesting.
I hope to see more, like crop and space, larger volume technologies and ideas, concepts being tested rather than just, smaller size and technologies and systems being explored over and over also.
Great. There is another question, I think, like from the public here in the chat. I think this is a quite interesting one. Like, who is funding SpaceAg research right now? Like, NASA has already like offered many grants and all of this, but like with the new space, since we are in the new space era, and how things are working right now.
Right, yeah. So main funding source have been, of course, space agencies, and in our case, NASA, right? In terms of biogenerative life support systems, plant biology, astrobiology, the kind of research. Funding, as you know, has been erratic too, and now there are different emphases and priorities in the case of funding for NASA for sure. But I believe that the funding opportunities will still be available. Most recently, 2023, we have the report for decadal report for space exploration, and there is an emphasis in terms of biogenerative life support systems and Earth-based habitats, test beds, large-scale test beds to be used to innovate, explore some ideas, strategies towards microgravity and surface habitat deployment. So for that reason, I believe our research programs will continue, but industry, private sector, right, is working heavily now on new space station and also transit missions. So they are focusing on the hardware, the spacecrafts and things like that. But for survival, there is that interest in terms of plant production, crop production, and biogenerative life support system for that matter. And universities also have internal funding opportunities. For example, our most recent project is being funded by University of Arizona's Space Institute, right? So there are those opportunities. So moving forward, I would like to see a collaboration, right? That we need to maintain that collaboration with funding agencies and private sector and universities as well. I know that our limitation is within our country borders, but as you can see, cross-country borders are also a fantastic way of collaborating, even though funds are not flowing in two ways. That know-how, ideas, and expertise kind of collaboration is the key for us to innovate quickly and then and towards innovation and space exploration. And also, like yourselves, kind of stimulating this conversation and discussions ongoing, educating our communities in SpaceX is really critical and important. I really appreciate your contributions there too.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we're really excited. Yeah, we're really excited about this series. We have, over 100 people on the webinar right now who are enjoying it.
Fantastic.
We have a really interesting question about insects and wondering if, the use of insects as a source of protein in space. Did you guys do any trials at University of Arizona with insect production?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, thank you for that question. I kind of I failed to include one slide as part of our research programs here for the circular controlled environment agriculture systems, because we see insects and edible insects as part of the degrading kind of biological matter for that need. So we have a colleague expertise in entomology department who is working on edible insects, and they are considered as part of the biogenerative life support system, and they have been explored. So we have a history of working in them for the past, I would say, 2-3 years, related to SpaceAg, but our colleague has more history of working with those and their calorific values and things like that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And we also have mushrooms. So in that circularity approach, we consider edible insects, mushrooms, aquaponic systems, and plant production systems. As you can imagine, there are resource input and waste outcomes, but we don't consider them as waste. So that's our emphasis. Can we convert that waste into a resource input and leverage it for the other system in that circularity, basically? We have a facility here, right? We have a facility here in addition to Mars Lunar Greenhouse Lab, a separate lab called Modular Integrated Sustainable Agriculture Systems. I know it's mouthful, but it's MISIS that demonstrate those kind of benchmarking and concept demonstration.
Oh, that's interesting. And also algae. I'm aware that there at the University of Arizona, you are also focused in algae, microalgae production with photobioreactors and so on, right?
Yes, correct. So we have also in the department a history of working with algae production systems, both with photobioreactors and raceway systems back in 2014. We had a funding from Department of Energy 4-year term, multi-state collaboration, testing different algae species, production system capabilities, sensor monitoring capabilities, all integrated into algae production. Algae is another biological system that is considered for space application.
Yeah, as I always say here is like we are talking about like we need to make astronauts survive. So all the solutions are welcome. So and if someone here in the public like might be wondering like which area to follow, like either you can specialize yourself in one of these areas, but also it's very demanding like the integration of these systems. So if you have knowledge like in different biosystems, as Professor Kacira mentioned, like different disciplines and courses, like if you're specialized into these different systems, like integration is also very critical and important for future space exploration.
That's a great point, Avi. Yes, integration is the key. We have individual maybe components that demand for a specific focused expertise, but for bioregenerative life support system, there's that integration need. And that's the beauty of collaborating with multidisciplinary, multi-expertise kind of settings. Controlled environment agriculture. Again, if you're thinking about space agriculture, some of the blending of expertise and skill sets needed, definitely controlled environment agriculture, understanding plant needs for optimal production, their resource needs, environmental demands, technologies, what type of technologies out there to grow crops, understanding the space challenges, but plant physiology, systems thinking, data, and automation, and integration. Yeah, and there are others too, biology, microbiome, and all that good stuff.
Great. Thank you for your answers, Professor Kacira. So we still have a lot of answers, but like since we are limited on time now, we are heading to the end of our webinar. Just a couple of final remarks. And just letting you know that since you're sending your questions in the chat, as Nico mentioned, also we'll be trying to answer them via email as soon as possible. We will share them with Professor Kacira, and then we will be providing some of the answers.
Thank you so much. I just put my email here. Please feel free to let me know if you have any question, any ideas, any discussions. I look forward to following up. I appreciate the invitation again, Davi and David and Nikos. Thank you so much for having me for the webinar. And I would like to thank everyone joining from all over the world. Thank you for your time and for your participation.
You're welcome, Professor Kacira. So some of the closing remarks here for now. Just to make you aware, the SpaceAg series is also together with other initiatives that agriculture team and we have started collaborating in starting promoting space farming. So we came up 1 year ago with the Space Farming 101 or SF 101. This is the first online course in this topic of space farming technologies, dedicated to everyone who is here watching. Either you are looking forward to become a space farmer, or if you are a grower, a CA professional. The idea of the course is to bring real examples, such as Professor Kacira mentioned a lot of them today. We bring about a lot of space farming technologies, case studies, and so on. And the course is available at Agritecture Designer as part of the premium courses, as you can see in the link. And another point is that together with all of this, we also have the SpaceAg Wrap Up, which is a monthly newsletter that we bring topics about space farming, upcoming SpaceAg events, technical articles, opportunities in the fields, and other space-related updates. Now, David.
I'd like
to do first a poll. Should we do first 2 polls that we have?
Oh, well, let me just tell everyone that the 2025 CEA census is open. And if you are interested, if you're an indoor grower, if you're an equipment supplier, if you're a student, researcher, anyone who's involved with controlled environment agriculture, we hope you will fill out the census. There's questions about the future of CEA and the future of AI and how AI will influence agriculture going forward. So we would really appreciate your participation. The link is right there. So thanks in advance for participating.
Nico, as you mentioned, let's ask, since we are talking about like to learn more about the public background. So if perhaps you can add the poll regarding their backgrounds. And while you are answering, just as final part, David, you would like to jump into?
You can skip this, but
Okay.
reach out to Agritecture if you have any questions.
Sure. And finally, the SpaceAg Conversations, we also provide you a certificate of participation. So you have the link and the QR code for the form. And to answer the form, we always ask for our guest speaker to provide a specific word. Professor Kacira, feel free to say any word that comes to your mind, like for the public to answer the form.
No, thank you. I think you explained everything that we would expect for them to provide us the feedback. So
It's just like if you could provide one word for the public once they are answering the form, then they will add the word that you mentioned.
The word that I mentioned.
Yeah, feel free to choose anyone, any word.
Like a space-related term, anytime.
Yes.
I don't know. I'm going blind. Keep on going. Explore the space. That's all I want to say.
Okay, so let's go for explore space.
Explore space.
Great. So so if some of you are interested in getting the certificate of participation, and also we are Nico is putting the poll. If you want to learn more about space farming, feel free to answer the poll. And also we'll be looking forward to getting your feedback in the form. So thank you so much for your participation. And that's all. Thank you for joining us. Once again, Professor Kacira, thank you very much for your time, for being with us today. It was a great pleasure to have you, a great honor.
Thank you. Same here. Thank you so much, Davi and David. Thank you. You take care.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thanks to everyone.
We'll see
Bye-bye.
you next month. Bye-bye.
See you. Bye-bye.